Hey landlords, Jeremy Schmidt from Rent College Pads here. I want to talk today about when you should raise or lower your rents. Now, we recently surveyed data from the American Community Survey and looked at 200 towns where there's at least 10,000 students enrolled in a college. We wanted to get a feel for where rents increased and where they decreased and kind of what was the reasoning behind that. Well, we found all but 8 of these towns had increases in rent from 2010 to 2015. Now, over that same stretch of time, the inflation rate was about 8.7%, but the average town increased its rent over 10%. So most of these towns were increasing their rent by more than the inflation rate, and we were curious, what were the causes of that? What were the factors? And if you're maybe a developer that's looking to get into new markets, what would be things to look for a town that's going to have rent prices increasing? So one of the factors that we saw most played into increases in rent prices was vacancy rate. In general, the lower a vacancy rate is, the higher rents are going to go. This is basically just the principles of supply and demand. When there aren't as many places for students to find, they're going to start searching earlier and earlier and earlier in the year, and the competition favors landlords in that scenario. More often, rent prices are going to go up than go down when the vacancy rates are very low. An example of this was Stony Brook, New York. So Stony Brook University is a big school there, but the town has a lot of residential people living there. It's not necessarily just a college town. So they're not looking to have a lot of students intermixed with the residents that are already there. That's caused some problems for them in the past. So they've kind of stifled development a little bit. They've really increased fines quite a bit for any landlords that have more than a few students living together, and more landlords have gotten out of the student renter business. With fewer landlords renting, vacancy rates have plummeted because there's fewer places available and the enrollment at the school continues to grow. That's a market that favors landlords heavily, even though they can't keep building there right now. Now, overdevelopment, that can be a huge problem for landlords. That really reverses the supply and demand and puts it in favor of the student. When there are too many buildings being built, and a lot of those new luxury buildings, as often is the case, what you're gonna have is students waiting longer and longer and longer, waiting on more and more deals from landlords that are desperate to fill up their units. So when vacancy rate goes from something like 2% to 5%, that has a dramatic impact on the market, and that's probably a good time to lower your rents and get out in front of everybody else. School enrollment also has a lot to do with whether rent prices increase or decrease. Now, at these schools where more and more students are joining and every year the freshman class is growing, you're going to see a whole flock of new renters entering the market. And if the school can't build dorms fast enough to accommodate all the incoming freshmen and sophomores and juniors, then there's going to be tons of opportunity for landlords, especially if there hasn't been a lot of new development going on. So, vacancy rates, good for landlords who want to charge more money. Overdevelopment, bad for landlords who want to charge more money. Enrollment growth can be good, can be bad. Enrollment decrease, typically a good thing, although maybe not for the long-term health of the market in general. Those are the things to remember when you're deciding early in the season if you want to raise your rents or if you want to drop them. Get out in front of everybody else, make an informed decision, and understand your market.